Ever felt that eerie sensation while gaming late at night? Like someone's watching you through the screen. For one Call of Duty player, that feeling became a terrifying reality. This is the story of how a normal gaming session turned into a fight for survival. It was just another Friday night for Jake. He'd finished his homework, grabbed some snacks, and settled in for a long night of Call of Duty. His parents were out, and the house was quiet, except for the familiar sounds of gunfire and explosions from his headset. As Jake played match after match, he started to feel uneasy. Something was off, but he couldn't put his finger on it. The shadows in his room seemed darker, and he kept thinking he heard noises coming from downstairs. He shook it off, figuring it was just his imagination running wild from the intense gameplay. But then, during a particularly heated moment in the game, Jake heard a loud crash from the kitchen. His heart started racing. This wasn't part of the game. Something was very wrong, and he was about to find out just how real things could get when virtual threats become real. Jake paused the game and listened. The house was dead silent. Maybe he just imagined it. He shook his head and unpaused, trying to focus on the match. But things got weird fast. As Jake moved his character through an abandoned building, he noticed graffiti on a wall that looked eerily like his own gamer tag. He blinked, convinced his eyes were playing tricks on him. When he looked again, it was gone. A few minutes later, Jake's character picked up a new weapon. The gun's serial number matched his home address. His palms started to sweat. This couldn't be a coincidence, right? Then came the messages. They popped up in the game chat, but they weren't from other players. "Nice house, Jake. Your mom makes great lasagna. That math test tomorrow looks tough." Jake's heart was pounding. How did they know all this? He tried to brush it off as some cruel prank. But deep down, he knew something was terribly wrong. The final straw came during a cutscene. The character on screen turned to face the camera and spoke directly to Jake. "Better check on that noise downstairs," it said with a smirk. Jake ripped off his headset and stared at the screen in disbelief. The room felt different now. Colder, darker. The shadows in the corners seemed to shift and move. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. His eyes darted to the windows, half expecting to see a face peering in. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Jake's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Game over! Jake, time to play for real!" That's when he heard the footsteps coming up the stairs, slow, deliberate. Getting closer with each passing second, Jake's mind raced. This couldn't be happening. It was just a game, right? But as the doorknob to his room started to turn, he realized with horror that the line between virtual and reality had completely disappeared. The terrifying truth unfolds. I froze as the doorknob slowly turned. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of what was happening. This had to be some kind of sick joke, right? But deep down, I knew it wasn't. The door creaked open, and I held my breath. But instead of some masked killer, it was, "My little sister Jake, what are you doing?" she asked, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "I heard a noise downstairs." Relief washed over me for a split second before the reality hit me. If she heard it too, then it wasn't just in my head. Something was really going on. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, but the call wouldn't go through. No signal. I tried the landline. Dead. It was like we were cut off from the outside world. That's when my computer screen flickered to life on its own. The Call of Duty menu was gone, replaced by a live feed of our living room. And there in the corner was a dark figure moving silently across the floor. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it might burst out of my chest. I grabbed my sister's hand and whispered, We need to hide now. We crept into my closet, trying not to make a sound. Through the slats, I could see my computer screen. The figure was making its way up the stairs, closer and closer to my room. Suddenly, a message popped up on the screen. Ready for the boss battle, Jake. I realized with horror that this wasn't just some random break-in. This person, whoever they were, had been watching me, studying me, using the game to learn everything about me and my family. And now they were here to finish the game in real life. The footsteps were right outside my door. Now I could hear heavy breathing, the sound of someone enjoying the hunt. My sister whimpered, and I clasped my hand over her mouth. The door to my room swung open. Through the closet slats, I saw a tall figure in a hoodie, face hidden by shadows. They were holding something. Was that a gun? Come out wherever you are, a distorted voice called out. It's time to play. The aftermath gaming will never be the same. It's been 6 months since that night, but I still can't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time I boot up my console, my hands start to shake. The cops never caught the guy who broke in. They said it was just some random creep, but I know better. He knew too much about me, my family, my life. I haven't touched Call of Duty since. Can't bring myself to every gunshot, every explosion. It all feels too real now. My friends don't get it. They laugh it off, tell me to get over it. But they weren't there. They didn't see how easily our safe, normal lives can be turned upside down. I'm always looking over my shoulder now. Even when I'm just scrolling through social media, it's like the line between the virtual world and reality has blurred. And sometimes late at night, I swear, I can hear footsteps coming up the stairs.